Why PvP for you? Why is that such a kind of like hot part of the game for you?
I'm a hyper competitive person. I love dispelling this notion that that is the only reasons why someone wins a battle. Like strategy suddenly doesn't matter, or being a good player doesn't matter, or not understanding like how certain interactions matter. Like all of that matters.
And it's worth noting, people can't just call you a dumb whale. If I remember right, you did pretty good in the free-to-play competition, didn't you?
That's right, third place finisher. What now? Looks like Kraken can't play raid.
We're gonna have a competitive ladder based on your account. I don't know how much I should spill here, but potentially
Dan?
I just sit back. I'm like Simon's cooking. Let it go.
Dan,
the meta, it becomes stale extremely quickly, and they are hilariously slow to adjust. What's the saying? Variety is the spice of life. Like it really is.
Yeah. How long do you think is a good length of time for a season to run?
I feel like no shorter than 3 months.
It's an ability where I'm saying I'm casting this on you rather than just randomly it's going to happen 50-50, like
even worse
across your whole team.
The things that have made raid more frustrating over time are the addition of RNG elements that are just way out of proportion with what a normal PvP experience should be like. Community and content creator feedback matters, but I think they just don't care sometimes. They genuinely just don't care.
I don't want to say it, but I'll let you say
I'm gonna say
I will say that. There's
it.
probably people at the ground level that genuinely they do care. We're talking about a mode which we're not sure if we're going to put in yet, but I actually quite like the idea of it. So almost like an end of season tournament.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Fateless podcast episode. And joining me from the Fateless team is going to be Simon and Sham, with our special guest this week being Drock. What's up, my man? How you doing?
What's up?
Give the people the short intro on what you do, where you come from, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me, guys. What's up? I'm Big Papa Drock. You might have seen me on Raid Shadow Legends videos. So that's what I'm most known for nowadays, but I've been streaming for a long time and doing content creation for several years. And yeah, started with like Call of Duty, and now here I am playing Raid Shadow Legends. So it's been kind of a crazy journey to where I ended up.
Okay, so yeah, that's quite the shift going from FPS into the gacha scene. So what prompted that? How'd you get that into Raid?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, so I was a professional actor for a long time doing TV shows and TV commercials, and I'm actually characters in Red Dead Redemption 2 if you've ever played that game. And
That's very cool. That's very
it
cool.
was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It was a blast. It was a blast. And so I had moved to LA right when the pandemic started. So I moved right before it started. Started. I couldn't do my acting stuff, and I was like, oh man, I gotta do this streaming stuff. Like, why not? I've always wanted to do it. So I started streaming Call of Duty because I've always been a super competitive FPS player, like really good at PUBG and that kind of stuff. And initially nobody watched, because that's how this always works. Nobody actually watches you. You're just streaming to nobody.
Streaming to yourself. Like
pretty much like, you're doing great, Drock. Well done. Nice play, buddy.
Did you see that shot?
Exactly.
Hey,
And
one
there's no
person in
there.
chat.
Yeah, so it's super awkward when you're starting out. But and I started growing like a following for Call of Duty, and had like a small channel, only 40, 50, 60 viewers, but had a really successful kind of pandemic run in terms of like subscribers and stuff like that. It was pretty nuts. And you know what got me into Raid was I got a sponsorship offer. Like, why don't I do a sponsored stream for this game? Yep. And I started playing, and I was like, wait a second.
They're like, we'll pay you. And you're like,
that one was cost effective for them.
They got their money back. They've done quite well on me. So that's how I got into it. And now I've been playing it I just had my 3-year anniversary actually last week. So it's been pretty nuts.
That's awesome. Was there any pushback like blending the genres? Like, did you have any of your 40, 50, 60 viewers that were like, Drock, what are you doing, man? Like, come on. Like,
well, the funny thing is, it's like I got a lot of them into Raid at the time. So that helped, but I didn't really start streaming Raid until like maybe 6 months or a year after the sponsored stream. Like, I played it offline as kind of my secret, like, I can't
guilty pleasure.
You're like hiding it away.
This game, like, this is really an interesting choice, Drock. What are you doing here? But as I started creating content for it, I was like, you know what? I love the mechanics of the game. Like, I actually enjoy the PvP scene. I enjoy how the game functions. And so then I started streaming it. And what was crazy was I had way more success streaming Raid from a viewership perspective than I ever did streaming Call of Duty. And yeah, it was like nuts. It was, I was kind of like, what is happening here? Like, people actually want to watch me play a mobile RPG like on my PC. Like, this is crazy to me. So it just,
Yeah.
it started taking off, and it's been a weird journey, like getting to where I'm at now, where I'm still a relatively small creator in the scene, but I just, I'm gonna toot my own horn here because I'm pretty proud of myself. I just won Raid's Rising Star Award.
Congratulations!
congrats.
Yes,
Thank you, thank you.
but
Well
also
deserved,
like
man. Well deserved.
super well deserved. You know, the effort that goes into your content, and the quality of, you know, stuff like thumbnails, you know, all of the kind of like package around content. It's not just, you know, can you play the game, which is what most people think it is. It's actually, are you entertaining? You know, are you able to think up different ideas around what you're going to put out? And I think for you, and probably we'll talk about this a bit more, but you know, you've really like honed in on the part of the game that you love, right? So a lot of your content is PvP focused.
Yeah.
And you know, you say in a game like Raid, well, probably 99% of the people that play Raid that do PvP, like they put a team out, they hit auto, and then they look back around a minute later and see if they won or not. Like,
I
so
won. Cool.
you know, you actually play the game. So yeah, I mean, why PvP for you? Why is that such a kind of like hot part of the game for you?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Well, first, let me say thank you for those compliments. That means a lot coming from you guys, people who've kind of lived the dream of what I'm trying to achieve. So thank you very much for those really kind words. But I think the thing about PvP that really captured me is I'm a hyper competitive person. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I hate losing. I love winning. I am not a sore loser. Like, if someone beat me fair and square, then it just motivates me to want to do better. And like, it's funny playing a mobile game PvP, and especially because Raid is in many ways pay to win, right? Where if you spend more money, you have a better team. Like, there is a barrier to entry when it comes to high level PvP in this game, because you do have to have certain champions in order to compete. But I think one of the things that really captured me about Raid is I love dispelling this notion that that is the only reasons why someone wins a battle. Like, strategy suddenly doesn't matter, or being a good player doesn't matter, or not understanding like how certain interactions matter. Like, all of that matters. And when you're at the high level where I'm at, the reality is everybody has god tier accounts. I mean, many people have way stronger accounts than me. They make my account look like a joke. And to the average player, my account is intimidating, to say the least. So there's something fun about it, and it's just enjoyable to figure out a strategy and to beat someone, and to know that it was because you made the right play, you made the right decision, and that counterplay or whatever you picked worked out. So I don't know, I just kind of fell in love with it.
And it's worth noting, you know, people can't just call you a dumb whale, because if I remember right, you did pretty good in the free-to-play competition, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Third place finisher. What now? Looks like Kraken can play Raid. Okay, yeah, that's right. That was honestly such street cred for me, because a lot of people, even before I started the competition, I'll never forget, someone commented on one of my YouTube videos, and I read every comment. I'm one of those people, but
yeah,
I read this comment, was like, "Yeah, you're just an average player with a large wallet," and I was like,
"Wow."
Watch me cook, son. Watch me cook.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry. Scoreboard.
Yeah, exactly. So
I always feel the same. Like when there's like a Deadwood Jedi competition or something like that, and you know, and I'm pushing teams, and I'm coming out on top, and I'm like, where's everyone now? Like, you know, it's hard to win these things. Like, everyone in these competitions are super competitive. They're really like knowledgeable players, and they've got some cool ideas. Like, and something which Raid does well, and definitely something which we're trying to make sure we bring to Fateless, is depth in this style of genre. Right? So, or in this genre, depth is not everywhere. You know, in terms of builds of characters, in terms of numbers of playable characters, in terms of like gear sets that you bring in. There's a number of things which I think Raid have done better than anyone else so far. And you know, we're gonna like double down on that side of things, because what we want is for people to feel like you do. It's like, strategically, I can win this battle in this PvP arena, or you know, in PvE, whatever it's going to be, because I've got a great knowledge of this game.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what we want to bring, and actually what we're hoping to bring. We just get your thoughts on this actually. So we're going to have a kind of like competitive ladder based on your account. I don't know how much I should spill here, but potentially,
Dan?
I just sit back. I'm like Simon's cooking. Let it go.
Potentially, we create meta swings, right? So the way that Raid create a meta swing is by releasing new champions or new gear sets, or very infrequently a nerf to a champion. Pretty much never, but once in a blue moon. So we're thinking to create those meta swings to have like monthly seasons, probably monthly, but it might be a different time frame, but a season type approach where we bring in I guess like champions get pushed up to a high level only in PvP, and it'll be like these champions are going up to the world of Olympus, and in this month or this season they're going to have either an enhancement to their kits or just a power boost in terms of stats, and then equally some champions are going to be coming down to like the gates of hell, and for that season they're going to have like a challenge, and it might be we do things like augments that says this affinity of champion is going to get a power boost, or epics get a power boost this season, like just like general,
just to keep it
rules.
Fresh,
just so that every season it's like you have to rethink your roster, and it doesn't mean that your champions that you own are suddenly going to be crap forever, because this season some of your champions that you used to love to use have just gone down a level, but then you bring in other champions, and then the next season some of those other champions will come back into the meta. So we're just trying to think of ways, how do you bring this kind of like meta play style into this genre without loads of like nerf hammers or buffs all the time,
I think that's actually,
what do you think?
I think it's super interesting, because one of the things that I would say that Raid, again, I love Raid PvP, right? But I would also say, if I'm being honest and critical of Raid PvP, is the meta, it becomes stale extremely quickly, and they are hilariously slow to adjust. And that, like, what's the saying? Variety is the spice of life. Like, it really is. Like, you want to have shifts. And if you look at the most successful competitive games, whether it's like from an FPS perspective, you look at something like Valorant, or you look at something like COD or Call of Duty or Apex, the reality is one gun may be really good for one season, but then the next season it's changed or balanced and someone else is brought up. And that, I think that variety is really key to keeping a game fresh and keeping it interesting and unique. So I actually really love that idea. And what I also like about that idea, because it borrows from some of my other favorite games, and actually Chosen and I were just talking about this before we started, was like, you look at something like Diablo, right? And the idea of like seasons in Diablo where you have ladder play. And so every season, I don't know if you guys are going to reset these seasons where the ladder might reset, but I think that's super interesting and unique. I would love to have that challenge of, hey, figure out new strategies. You can't just rely on Taurus and Marichka. To win every battle. So
from your perspective though, so how long do you think is a good length of time for, if we were to implement that, for a season to run, so that you've had enough time to really figure out the meta, deliver against your kind of like competitive play, and but also on the other side of it, to make sure that it stays interesting enough, and there's enough kind of changes to make you want to kind of rethink. What's a good time frame?
I feel like no shorter than 3 months, right? Like 3 months.
Really?
3 months is probably, just because if you're doing it all the time, then you're not letting people really get accustomed to it. So if you're doing it like once every month, that's a lot of change.
Okay,
it's just really fast. Like maybe 2 months.
That's kind of the sweet spot that I was feeling. But you keep going. Think through it.
I don't think I would make it as long as 4 months, because it can kind of drag on. I don't think certainly wouldn't make it as short as 1 month, because that's just too short. So maybe your sweet spot is between 2 to 3 months, maybe every 2.5 months. Because I think one of the things is that one of the frustrations I would want to make sure I avoid with that is like, all right, I'm starting to cook, I'm doing it, I'm working, I got this like working, and now I have to switch everything up. Like, oh man, I was just cooking, bro. I was just cooking. And so balancing that level of I was doing really great to like, oh man, I'm so tired of using these champions, man. I want something different.
And that work, all that work you put in is going to feel like it was worthless. That's what we want to super avoid, right?
But I will say that I don't think that's the case. So let's say there's let's say we've got 80 odd legendaries in the game, and the majority of like high level PvPers will probably use legendary stack teams. Yeah. Okay. So if there was, say, I don't know, 10 elevated and 10 brought down, might be more than that, but let's say that's the numbers. Well, doesn't mean that you can't use some of the same pieces that is working for you today in the next season, because it's not going to be like suddenly everyone
not every single one.
So I think there's still an element of, but it will just make you just think to yourself, well, actually, this champion that's normally in the vault, suddenly she's doing double damage for this whole season. Like, can I make that work? Or you know,
how do I do
this tank character suddenly is now blocking 50% of the damage that's coming in.
Okay.
You know, so modifiers that could be interesting.
Yeah, if your buffs are that strong, then 2 months might make sense then. Like if you're talking like that these buffs or these temporary buffs are going to be actually pretty significant, then I would probably err towards a shorter side than a longer side. Then I think that does make a lot of sense.
Because it gives you that time to have the
there,
ABC
right?
meta.
Yeah, I might have said the extreme, but what we do want is for them to be significant enough that it's not just, oh, okay, well, you know, I've got an extra 1,000 HP. Great. It wants to be like, okay, well, damn, that could be interesting.
Yeah, you know, Nefertiti, right? Wasn't that a character you guys released recently?
Yeah, that's right.
I think I saw. Listen, I'm in the Fateless Discord.
Yeah, let's go. He dropped the knowledge.
If I get nothing out of this podcast, guys, I just want one commitment. Please, for the love of God, I am begging you, do not put anything like polymorph in this game. I'm begging you, please, God, don't do
it, guys,
please.
Who guys? Internal meetings. Who's saying these things?
So let me ask you a question though. Let's assume polymorph does something different. So did you ever play World of Warcraft?
If it was named polymorph but did something different, just as an interesting thing.
I did play WoW. I'm totally fine with the name of polymorph, but I just beg you not to do what Raid did with that.
But imagine if one of your heroes can turn somebody into a sheep. Not a sheep, but whatever we're gonna do.
Sure. I'm listening.
Yes.
No, man, it's just
Drock. It's so funny because we
it.
just had a meeting like yesterday, and I was saying exactly what you're saying.
Well, so funny. Okay, let's talk about this briefly because I think the problem with polymorph is that it does the 50 other things that it does. If it just turned you into a sheep, that you have it comically, like you have a really bad A1 and that's all you can do, and it didn't strip your buffs, and it didn't put you to 50% HP, which I think is, I don't remember the exact numbers, but
that's what it does. Yeah.
Okay. All of a sudden it's fine. It's like not that big a deal. But if it's doing all this other stuff, it just says like, I'm erasing everything that you've done before. That's the problem.
Well, and the biggest difference is like it's an ability where I'm saying I'm casting this on you rather than just randomly it's going to happen 50-50, like
even worse
across your whole team. Like
that's the key to, like, when I look at satisfying PvP in any game, but especially in mobile games, to me, the most satisfying, I think back, like having played Raid 3 years, right, and seen a lot of different changes, especially in the first year that I played, not as many in the last year and a half because of power creep and because of just stagnant metas like Taurus and Richka. But to me, the things that have made Raid more frustrating over time are the addition of RNG elements that are just way out of proportion with what a normal PvP experience should be like. Like, I always look at it as, you want a sprinkling of RNG, right? You want a moment where someone's like, I can't believe I just lost that fight, or like, holy smokes, I can't believe I just pulled that off.
Yeah.
But
not a 50-50 every single time.
When every fight is like 4, I mean, I've literally had 4 sheep at one point where I'm just kind of sitting there like, boy, I really love playing the game right now, man. This is real. We're playing, you know, and then I'm raging and I'm losing control.
Please tell me there's a clip of that somewhere that we can link where Drock has 4 sheep and he's raging at the camera.
Go back through my streams and you'll find plenty of clips about me raging about PvP.
Well, did you play when Tormund was released in Raid?
I actually was not. I don't think I started at that point in time. I think I was shortly after.
I think you're around the same timeline as me.
Because I remember, so as a content creator, we were always trying to get the fusion champion before it came through, right? So we're like, if we could just get it and do a bit of a play test. And I actually got Tormund really early, and I played for like 20 minutes or something in the arena. I was like, guys, you've got to change this. Like, everybody is frozen all the time, and the game's like jittery. And I'm like, before anyone tries to do this fusion, like, you've got to change it. I don't like day 1 or something.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't know, maybe a week after everyone had picked him up, they started to change it, and everyone's going mad. And you're like, why didn't you listen? Like,
why is this so complicated? I feel like this happens so much.
Well, I think this is like you guys are building a game, right? You're a development studio at this point. You are trying to create new IP. And I guess like the biggest thing I look at, and I think you guys understand this as content creators, and that's why I'm really excited for this game. And I told you that before we started the podcast, is that I'm genuinely excited to see what you do. One, because I love heroes that are gods and mythical type stuff. That is like my jam to a T.
Yeah.
I love Greek history, Egyptian history, all the stuff. That is so much like the kind of stuff that I love. So I'm really excited for that. But I think also the biggest thing to learn from your own time playing these games is community and content creator feedback matters. Like not everything that we say is viable, right? For different reasons, because you're looking at analytics that we don't have. But I will also say that in my opinion, the vast majority of the time, when content creators give feedback on these things, and I've seen it certainly with Call of Duty, I mean, because that game has just like been up and down in terms of community involvement and community participation, but the overwhelming majority of the time, the content creators are right about most things because they're the ones that are actually investing the time playing that game. And so
they're living the game. That's
like
basically it. Yeah.
If you guys do that and you do a good job of just listening to feedback and then communicating of like, hey, we heard what you said, but maybe here's why we aren't going to do this. But like, if you actually communicate, I think people are going to be so just jazzed, because that if development studios did that consistently, people love that. Then you have a real rapport. You're excited. You're like, oh my God, they listen. You know what? They didn't take my idea for this, but they actually had the gumption to say, hey, here's why. Like, we hear you. Here's why we're thinking the way we are. They're communicating. And like, that's what I am most excited about, I think, for what you guys are doing, because I know you personally, right? Like, we've done collabs before. We've talked before. I mean, we've even met at TwitchCon. You know what I mean? Like, and I know you guys genuinely care about that and are invested in delivering a game that people feel like they are seen and heard and listened to, and that you are building something that you know the community will enjoy, but also that you will enjoy yourselves. So
the amount of times there's like a comment left in Discord in our kind of ideas thread where I'm reading through. I read through every single one, every single comment in there. I'm on it, and I'm like, is this gonna add value
he'll
to
pop
our
up.
game?
You're like, check this out. It's a good one.
If it's something which I really feel like, strongly, this is gonna really add value, or it's gonna be an interesting different game mode, or a different type of strategy, I'm like, guys, check this out. Can we make this work? It's the first thing I'm thinking is this going to be fun? Is it going to be actually feasible in our game? And does it add some value to the player base? And genuinely, it's a community that's coming up with some of these things. So, and sometimes we'll kind of like take this initial idea, and it's like, well, then let's see what we can do with it. So we start to throw it through the kind of like design team. And that's when it gets a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's not kidding. So make sure you get in the Discord. I'd say once about every 2 or 3 days, Simon is like screenshotting a Discord message.
Easily.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, what do you guys think about this? I saw this idea in the community. So he does actually do that.
That's
something important to note, though.
Yeah, something important to note. I love that.
It's like I can't imagine that some of these other companies aren't also doing that, have someone that's reading through them. I think that my guess is that it's twofold, right? One, maybe there is a little bit of that. Maybe they're missing some of it. There's just too many, right? The scope has gotten really, really big. But two, I would say they didn't design their production pipeline to support that. And I think that's super key, and something that we're on purpose doing this, right? We're making it so, guys, this is important. We know that we want to be doing balance checks and balance changes on a regular basis to make sure that it's fun for people, right? If something's way out of whack, it shouldn't take us a month or 2 months or 3, or God forbid, a full patch to fix something. Just fix it. You know what I mean? Fix the problem.
That is like one of my biggest pet peeves in games that I play, and like it's happened in Call of Duty so many times where a gun has just been like not good, not great, but just literally utterly broken to the point where the
only option, basically.
The only option, like you can't use anything else. If you use anything else, you are cooked. And like the gun does so much more damage that you can just annihilate entire squads. And it's just like, it's not fun. So I think that's one of the most important things you can do. I'm going to add one additional reason, though, where I think development studios go wrong is I agree with you. I think people do see comments. They do hear things. but I think they just don't care sometimes. They genuinely just don't care.
I don't want to say it, but I'll let you say
I'm going to say it.
I will say though,
I'm gonna say
there's probably people at the ground level that genuinely they do care, right? So the people that are feeding this in, they're like, this is a great idea. Why are we not doing this? But generally, these type of companies, they're run by, profit and loss. That's that's the fact. So I've been in big corporation stuff, and you come up with great ideas, and it's like, well, we just can't do it because the cost doesn't like bring the benefit. And whereas I think the difference is, look, we want to make money as a studio. Don't get us wrong here. We are building a game. We think we're going to be successful. We think we're going to be playing with the big boys, and that's what we want to do. But also, like, we really want to deliver a brilliant game.
Yes.
Like way more, honestly, than the financial stuff. Like, I
almost irrationally so, but like to a high level
game.
But that's what you need. You need that passion. And I look at something like Baldur's Gate 3, right?
Yes.
Where you could hypothetically have just crazy amounts of microtransactions, all this other crap. You could like do all these terrible things to fill this game that's not like built on this type of stuff, right? But they don't care. They're just like, we want to create a great game. That's what we want to do. We want to create a great game. And the awesome thing is, when you create a great game, people will buy it. People will purchase it.
There's a reward.
People will participate in it, and they will be someone who wants to, to actually play the game consistently. And I think there's a real, like, we talking about like raid killers, etc. Like, there really hasn't been one that's hit all the notes that it needs to hit. And I think a lot of people in this community are really looking at Fateless as that first, no pressure, guys, but like that first opportunity of like, hey, these guys understand what Raid has done extremely well. Like the stuff that, like, and you have to say, like, they have done incredibly well in so many different areas. And you have to give that team a lot of props. But I think also there are opportunities to improve upon what they've done and really take the feedback and the things you've learned over the last several years of being, Raid content creators, and then implement that into something that could be potentially even better. So
what's interesting though, so coming from that side and then coming into game dev, I mean, there's so much to do, and like, it's not like we didn't know it's going to be hard work. Like, we working our asses off. There's so much to do. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to design our PvP system, and it's like, okay, well, just like layers from there. It's like, right, okay, so what, she wants some more.
What are the environments? What are the environments like? What does this do? What's the system?
Just like rains down all these different things that you need to consider to make that work and to make it balanced. So props to anyone, honestly, not just Raid, but people in this genre. Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes has been around for years and still really popular.
Summoner's War.
Epic 7 is like known as one of the best balanced PvP games in this genre. I've never played it actually, but the amount of people that say to me, if you want to see PvP, Epic 7's where you should go. Like,
I've heard that's great. I haven't played it either, but I've also heard like friends be like, the PvP in this is really satisfying. So now I'm like, maybe there's a number now.
There's just a number in this genre and outside, obviously, but that have just killed it for years. And we want to get in the mix of that. We want to be in the mix and produce something which people say, well, damn, I want to play that game and continue to play that game.
If you need more PvP consultants and you need them on the ground in the UK, I'd love to move and help you out. I'm just saying.
He's moving out to UK now.
Bring me to the UK.
Yeah, man, I got spare room.
I will hang out in the Hades household. You know what? I'll be like your butler or something like that. Obviously, British people love butlers. I'll be your Downton Abbey.
I need a new butler. Yeah,
I got this.
A new butler.
For you guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Before I forget to ask this question, you said this was kind of your jam with the myths and the legends and the gods and anything. So what I would want to ask you is, do you have one that stands out where you're like, you guys better have this as a legendary in the game?
Ooh,
and it better be awesome. And somebody has already said Robin Hood, so you can't pick him.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, Robin Hood. Okay, man. Dude, you know what I would love to see in the. All right, so I guess it really depends. Like, if you're putting Robin Hood in here, are you?
We are not. Let's just be clear.
Okay, we are not. It's going to be like, how historical?
Brad is trolling him so hard right now.
How historical are we going? Because part of me is like, if you're going super historical, like you're actually bringing some level of some like accurate characters in there that might have existed.
Oh, yeah.
The dude in me would be like, bring in William Wallace. I would love to see William Wallace like wielding a giant like broadsword, but obviously he was a real person. So if you're going more like, hey, it's just mythics, we're not doing anything that necessarily.
No, we've got like Ramses. We already announced Ramses.
Okay,
that's a perfect example, right?
Yeah. So my first choice without a doubt would be William Wallace, because that would just be sick to see a dude in a kilt with a 7-foot broadsword just absolutely smashing on people. I would love that. Nice. But if not him, then I would say, I mean, like you're gonna have the Greek gods in there. I'm sure you're gonna have people like Zeus or whatever else, because that's just like, that is, when you think of mythology, that is what you think. So any of those, frankly, and I'm already in. Like you got me, you bring in the Greek gods, and it's, it's game over for Drock. I'm definitely spending money.
That's such a good question, because I feel like there's so many directions that it could go, and we've gotten some really interesting ones. Like when we were in stream, we were like joking about like an American faction. What was the funniest one? We got like Johnny Appleseed, but then
we had Uncle Sam.
That was such a good one.
Maybe Paul Bunyan you could put in there.
Yep,
Paul Bunyan. Davey
Doc Holliday.
Obviously, this was a joke, right? This was not the direction.
Yeah. But you say it's a joke, but I've been seeing, maybe that's where it's come from. I've been seeing in Discord today a lot of people saying, "Oh, what about this? Wyatt Earp or something like
Wyatt
just
Earp,
just like raining in these different options." So I guess people took it seriously. I don't know.
That's awesome.
I mean, but so for PvP, I'm interested to kind of understand, like, what about Raids PvP kind of draws you in so much, like. You come from Call of Duty. It's very Twitch based, very action. It's very visceral. What about Raid PvP actually that drew you in?
I think it's the first off, there's a variety. Like you talk about like depth. There is immense complexity and depth in Raid PvP at its best, right? There are so many different ways to hypothetically, like if we take all the RNG aspects out of it, there are so many different ways to counter things that are either champion or ability based. The affinity system is also obviously great, the way that works. And that's pretty common. Like the majority of games have things like that. That's nothing out of the ordinary. But I think what they've done exceptionally well is they've done a really good job of giving you layers of how you develop a character, both in terms of enhancements you can make to that character through gear, through empowerment, through all these different areas where you can improve your characters, which is first off fun to collect that stuff, fun to be able to say like, oh, I've got like, an empowered Harima or whatever else. You might have gone a little bit too far with some of this stuff in terms of power creep, if we're also being really honest. And I think that can be detrimental too. But I just think it's the layer of complexity of the abilities themselves and how those abilities work, and how like figuring out the right way to counter a specific champion. If you're facing someone like a Taurus, which is one of the strongest champions in the game, and it's like, how do I beat this? Like, what champions do I possess that I think have the best possible chance of beating this, and then actually overcoming that mountain? That is what is satisfying. And especially when you beat accounts that are stronger than you. Like there was a big series where I would face, like when I was number 7 on the leaderboard for Live Arena, and I would be facing Doc Moreau a lot, and he has like literally one of the strongest accounts in all of Raid, and he is also a massive PvP player, and really he's really good as well. And I would be consistently beating him at some points. And I'm like, yeah, man, my brain's huge, bro.
God, yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? Big brain plays.
So actually, this brings me on to another topic, because we're talking about a mode, which we're not sure if we're going to put in yet. But I actually quite like the idea of it. So almost like an end of season tournament. So, you would be like bracketed up start off with just randoms. Like it could be people from anyone in gold, let's say gold arena.
Yeah.
And if you win your bracket, you kind of go through to the next bracket, etc. And then over the course of a weekend, at the end of a season, the best players start to come through, and then you're then going head to head with
season
names.
championship.
Yeah, so it'd be like, okay, it's Drock versus Chosen, and it's like, who's us mere mortals that can't get to that level? We see who's left in, and we're kind of like, you know what? I'm going to bet my 100 gems that Drock beats Chosen. So I've got some sort of like input, but I'm not really playing.
Sick. Now we're talking.
I don't know if that's
boys.
Legal.
Fight night.
No,
it's just gems. Don't worry about it.
It's just gems. I like the way we're headed now. Then that is like the sauce that is missing from Raids PvP, because when they introduced Live Arena, it's definitely a new mode, but there's so many things they could be doing with it that I hope you guys do, where I'm like, from a content creator perspective, it's like, dude, content creator tournaments would be sick.
Yeah.
Friendly
100%.
tournaments.
I told them that before it came out.
I've pitched it. I've pitched, can I have a test server where we get these accounts?
Yes.
Pitched it. No,
I know we all have.
Bro,
what? We all have.
It would be the absolute. You were talking about having fun in this kind of game. If you guys get that stuff right, if you can actually implement that into your PvP, and obviously that's a lot of work, but if you can do friendly tournaments, content creator tournaments, like that's the stuff that people want to watch.
It's no more difficult. It's just databases. It's just relational databases. It's not even that complicated.
I mean, if
you're doing live PvP. You're just connecting accounts. It's not hard.
It's
like here. Sham confirmed it. You're getting it day one. Right there.
Whoa, baby, it's happening. It's confirmed. You're welcome, guys. PvP consultant Drock paying off already. They already knew this stuff, but that's the stuff that's missing. And that is the thing that would take the PvP scene to a whole new level in Raid. And I know if you guys do that, I mean, we talk about it amongst the high level PvP players all the time. Like, we're always in the Discord. Like, I wish they'd do this. I really wish they'd do this. I really wish they would have friendly tournaments among clan mates, or be able to practice. That's the other thing too, is why can't I practice my strats? Why can't I base someone without,
like, there's also, like, Raid are about earning cash, right? They earn insane levels of cash. So just imagine if they create a friendly tournament and it's costing you 250 gems to set it up or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, who's losing? Who's losing from that? Like,
no one.
That's what I can't
Doesn't
get.
make any sense. I'll tell you, no one. No.
I don't know how they wouldn't make even more money. You know what I mean? Because then you have even more reason to pull shards or to do other stuff, where it's like, to me, this is low hanging fruit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff. I forgot to mention this. I also play a ton of Super Smash Brothers. I love playing Super Smash Brothers. And one of the things that makes that fun is, first off, you can partner up with your buddies and fight them. Again, another thing in PvP that you'd love to see, where it's like, let's 1v1, like, just for fun. Like, let's 1v1, show me what you got. You know what I mean? So that's another thing too. But then
you share that battle in your clan chat.
Oh my god, the trash talk! The trash talk.
Exactly.
You can watch
replays.
You can press the replay. You can watch it.
Watch me dominate. You know what I mean? Well, I cooked him. I cooked him, son. Like that kind of stuff. There's just so much potential that I think you guys are in a really great position to capitalize on, and it is why there is so much buzz and why people are so excited. Because again, you've seen the things that have been done well. You know where these things can be improved. And now the hope is that you can actually deliver on that. And again, I think you've picked, like, for me personally, a really exciting IP in terms of the actual stuff and characters you're building, and like, the things that I've seen in your Discord. So yeah, I'm really excited about the PvP element in your game.
It's such a big thing, because it's like we're all about the kind of community first. I think that's one of the big things that Raid has done actually a pretty good job of cultivating, or at least the people that love Raid have actually done a really great job of cultivating. I mean, look how close you guys are. I think you guys just messaged up real quick. We're like, hey, let's get on a podcast. Boom, we're on a podcast. We're chatting about, Fateless, what we're doing. It's a great community, but it's like, think about how much more amplified that could be if you actually really cared who was in your clan. If you actually really could connect with friends. Like, Dirk and I played Raid together for forever. We literally not one time faced off against each other in PvP. Not one time.
Such a bummer.
Huge miss. Love playing Smash. I'm right there with you. We used to so much trash talk playing Smash in college.
Well, now that I know that, we got to get some games.
We got to play.
Who's your main though? Who's your main?
On the newest one, I'm pretty much a Marth main. Like, I was Sheik back at Sheik back at Melee. A Sheik back at Melee. I did some cloud work in the most recent.
Sounds like a challenge Fateless show match series.
There we go.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm in. I'd have to train up. Like, if you've been trained, I've been not. 3 kids will do a lot to your Twitch skills. I'm not gonna lie. I gotta like train up. But then I'm ready.
All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I'm not even that good. You know what I mean? I just have fun. You know what I mean?
Who's your main?
I usually, Big Papa. He's got a role of Big Daddy. I'm the King K role, dude. I love. I'd go Ganon on that matchup then. Okay, yeah, bring it. I love
Ganon.
By the way, Sham,
the Big Papas versus Big Papas.
from competing in esports, I'll tell you, the people to fear are the people that say, "Oh, I'm not that good, man."
I'm not,
Like,
of course.
He's just sensing you out. He's just like feeling you out. It's like, hold on.
The people,
characters, I don't know.
the people to not be
okay,
scared of are the people that talk the most shit. Those are the people that are trash.
So accurate.
Yeah. No, but this is the thing. Like that was some of my best gaming memories are like sitting on the couch next to somebody and looking them in the eye after I get that spike, that final spike, right?
Yeah.
And not from like a mean, but just like, excitement and adrenaline and I think you can't.
I'll tell you a story. Like one of my most fun like memories of gaming is back. I must have been maybe 12 or something, many years ago, and we've literally like connected up our two, whatever they were, whatever we played Doom on back in the day.
Oh,
but
nice.
back to back with like our own TV screen. So
yes,
and our friends are in there and they're kind of like around the outside and we're doing like a 1v1. And when you just like creeping up on someone, you fucking chainsaw them or what? Like it's like. Such a good feeling that they don't know you're there and you're so close.
Did you guys ever do like the? Did you guys ever do the split screen where you would
you put like a cardboard box.
Hide under a
make sure people could see. I just like I miss those Halo LAN parties because that's what I used to do.
Halo, yeah.
Crazy story. I was like the president of my German club in high school, right? Because I like that's my heritage is German, and so I was like, you know what we should really do at German club besides eating bratwurst? We got to bring in some TVs and play Halo. That's very German. So I literally
that's very German.
And we'd bring in daisy chained Xboxes and we just turn German club into Halo club, and it was so much fun. But
I
miss
Halo, talking Halo 1, right?
Halo 1 and Halo 2, yeah.
Halo 2 is good.
Halo 2 is my favorite of all time for sure. That was my.
I'm all pistol headshots in Halo 1.
Then you're Halo 1.
It was too easy though. It felt like I feel like that was just an abuse. And
I'm
an abuser.
Disgusting. It was disgusting in Halo 1.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that we have those memories though. Like, and that's that's what video games at its best, right? Where you have those communal experiences, and obviously I think it's a little bit harder nowadays in the age of the internet because you're not necessarily getting in person to do these things like you would in the past necessarily, but you can still approximate some of that if you have really good PvP elements and direct messaging and the ability to talk to people as you're playing, like all stuff that again is like, to me, like kind of like this is elementary stuff that every game should have.
The more you can make it interactive with someone else that you know. And having like a clan tournament back to the point is that's exactly what that does. It's like, oh no, I can't believe like Brad's winning. How's that happening? I thought he'd be bottom sort of thing, and
thanks, Simon.
But that's the sort of banter you get, right? So it's just kind of like, I need to give some sort of banter because I'm losing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're also trying to psychologically psych out your opponent. You know what I mean? Where you're trying to mess with them and get it underneath their skin. It's like if you're playing Super Smash Brothers and you're teabagging or whatever, or taunting, you're doing it specifically to mess with your opponent and try to like throw off the
Donkey Kong.
Just throw their mental completely
Donkey Kong,
off.
whatever else. But
or drinking a little bit of milk. Those of you that don't know Smash Brothers, oh my god, when you drink the milk with I know this is with Link, okay, with Link. Yeah, that's a classic one. But I don't know. DK was abusive.
There's just so much potential for what you guys are doing from a PvP perspective, and I think you guys understand that. Like, where it can be improved, where it can be fixed, and that's exciting for me. That's really exciting.
Dude, it's gonna be great. I really think that we'll take you up on this consulting gig. Simon, you've got the butler room, right? You've got the
Listen,
he can drive one of the.
I mean, it's not my best room, but it's okay.
I've wanted to live in the UK for a long time. So if I have to live in a hovel, you know what I mean, and
well, you've seen Harry Potter, right?
Of course, yeah. I'll live underneath the stairs. I'm 6'2", 310 pounds, but I'll jam myself in there. You know what I mean?
Just like scrunch up there. Oh my god. So yeah, we'll take you up on that. I mean, but that's the big thing. We really are, listen to the community. We really want to understand what's fun, what we can take advantage. I mean, I think we all have a good understanding, but it's really good to hear from somebody who's really focused in specifically, it sounds like, on the live PvP to hear like what was the best about that, what really makes it work. And I mean, it's kind of what I thought, which is the depth, not necessarily the complexity, the depth, right, of the choices that you can make.
Yep. Depth.
So we're doing it. That's the goal.
Depth. I think it's 3 things. It's depth. It's not too much RNG type stuff, which is really important because like my enjoyment of raid PvP has decreased drastically since those things have been introduced.
You want all the skills to be polymorph effectively.
Yeah, right? Pretty much everything just sheep all the time. But I think the other big thing too, and again, this is the hardest part for these games, but I do think you guys have the ability to do it, is genuine balance. Genuine balance. Like you cannot have a character that is so absurdly broken that every other character is completely pointless. And I feel like in raid now there are several characters that actually fit that level of power where they're not just good or great, they are actually game-breakingly strong. Yeah. And I think that leads to immense frustration from the perspective of someone who enjoys the stuff. And you want people to keep coming back. You want them to be excited. You know, you want meta shifts. You want characters to be powerful, but you don't want them to be so powerful that everything else is completely pointless when it comes to facing them.
Anytime there's something that makes it so there's no real decision to be made, that's just that there's the problem, right? That it should always be a decision. If the character's so broken that they're in every single team, it's probably an issue.
Yes,
right.
100%. Analytics are so important with that because you can see it as a game developer. You know, if every team has the same characters, you know you probably need to do some balance changes.
And so can the whole player base. They just look at the top 100. These look pretty similar.
Like what's going on here?
But so this was a great conversation. Should we do we have anything that like that you want to shout out? Anything that you want to shout out before you go? Otherwise, wind it down.
You know, the only thing I would say is first off, thank you so much for having me on. It is truly an honor to get to talk to you guys about this, and I'm not kidding when I say that I am really excited for the game, and it is something that I talk about with people like in my community. We talk about it on our stream a lot, how we are all looking forward to this. I think the only other thing I'd say is you know, just let me audition for a character for voiceover. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
let me throw myself.
You got some good credentials. Let's go.
I did that professionally. Just, you know, you can tell me if it was bad or like not good, but just give me a chance. One character, maybe it's like just a fat dude who's got like a barrel or something like that, and he just like hangs out by his barrel. I don't know. I'm just spitballing
pitch me on your favorite. Who's your favorite in the Pantheon?
In the Pantheon, I mean, it's got to be Hercules.
Like in the gods of the gods.
I mean, everyone loves Hercules, but I don't know if I would be the right fit necessarily for that character. But like Hercules is probably one of my all-time favorites. Certainly Zeus is up there as well. You know, I'm trying to think of who else would be like a really good choice.
Hercules and Zeus.
Hercules and Zeus kind of that's kind of like my favorites. I mean, that's maybe that's boring, but yeah, I don't know. I love Hercules.
No, it's not boring.
This sounds like another video where you know, Drock auditions and
it's gonna be great. You know,
we'll feed you some lines.
I'll tell you what, man. Like, if you do some auditions, we will put that out as a video. I promise.
Yeah. Listen,
like, even if they're bad, almost if they're bad,
even if they're terrible, like why not?
Even better if it's horrible, even better.
Yeah, just god awful. Like I used to do this professionally. Like, hey boys, Hercules here. Just like terrible voice acting.
What are you varmints doing here? That was your Hercules? Okay,
well, looks like you're all in trouble now because Herc's here. Yeah, I got you.
Nice. Oh,
amazing. Right. Well, yeah, that's gonna do it for this week's episode, and we will have all the links down below to check out Drock's content and also to do cool things like get in the Discord. You never know when Simon is gonna screen grab one of your messages and forward it to the team. So yeah, thank you for joining us, Drock. It's been a lot of fun. You know, thanks for joining us this episode, and shout out to all of you for watching the whole episode. We will see you soon in the next installment of the Fateless podcast.